So you've just picked up Dead by Daylight and you're looking for a killer to play, or maybe you play Survivor like me and you're tempted to try out Killer. And you're scrolling through the list of all the other killers and you're wondering, who do I play first? Well, luckily for you, I've made this top 5 killers to level first video, and I'm going to be sharing with you my top 5 killers. Now, just before we jump straight into this video, I do just want to say a massive thank you to all of you guys for the support recently. You guys have been absolutely crazy. Tons of new comments, tons of new subs. Loads of you guys love the videos that we're producing right now, and I just want to say a big thank you to all of you. We're also coming up to 1,000 subs, which is absolutely insane. And when we do hit 1,000 subs, we will be doing another Dead by Daylight giveaway on our Twitch streams. More info will be in the description, and if you come and join our Discord, I'll make an announcement when we hit it. All right, let's jump right into it. Now, I spend most of my time playing Survivor, however, I do play Killer from time to time, so be sure to share your opinion in the comments if you think other killers deserve a spot in this place. But this is going to be my choice. Again, this is going to be based on their teachables, their difficulty to play, and whether the killer is a DLC character does change the status of it a little bit. Okay, now my first choice is going to be the Trapper, classic of the Dead by Daylight killer community. Now, the reason why I put the Trapper into this video, he's one of the easier killers to just get going with. He's not a DLC character, and his powers are pretty basic, but also very effective. The Trapper places down traps on the floor to capture survivors in, and this can be really effective when survivors are trying to loop an area, or maybe you want to trap the shack. Survivors will have to disarm these traps to get rid of them, giving you a noise notification, which also is quite handy. The Trapper also comes with 3 of these perks. Unnerving Presence, which basically with this perk, you make it more difficult for survivors by giving them smaller skill checks when doing anything that requires skill checks, such as repairing, healing, or sabotaging, and also by giving them a slight increase in the chance of them getting skill checks when they're in your terror radius. His second perk is Brutal Strength, and with this perk you can destroy pallets and kick generators 20% faster. And his last perk is Agitation, which is a hook perk, and when using Agitation you can get to hooks faster by getting a speed boost of 18% when you have someone on your shoulder. Your terror radius is also increased by 12 meters. Trapper does also have some pretty good add-ons as well, which increases the amount of traps that you can hold, damage survivors when they disarm traps, and also have traps randomly open around the map. Now, as a little tip for when you're playing a Trapper, I would try and avoid getting into a chase very early on, because playing a Trapper without actually having any traps down kind of means that he's got no power. So I would dedicate the first 30 seconds of a match by placing traps in convenient areas such as pallets, window loops, or on corners of buildings, which you know survivors will run through. Now, I usually would recommend using a generator perk such as Ruin, Pop Goes the Weasel, Ridding Tremors, essentially any perk that's going to be able to slow the gen progression down a little bit, because one downside with playing Trap is that it does get a little bit gen rushed like the Hag, because you are constantly placing traps down. Second up, we have Leatherface, who now is a DLC character, but it is pretty worth getting him because he's relatively easy to play, and he does come with some pretty good perks as well. When playing as Leatherface, you will be chasing survivors and revving your chainsaw to insta-down them. To fully benefit from your chainsaw, I recommend being quite close to a survivor and then releasing the chainsaw. Don't chainsaw too far away because he'll go into a little chase or a sprint and you might not be able to reach them. Bumping into any objects will also give you a massive penalty where he just goes into a bit of a rage and swings the chainsaw around. Any perk that increases your speed or reduces your terror radius is very, very useful when playing as Leatherface. Monitor and Abuse, Nemesis, or Play With Your Food are some great additional add-on perks for him to use. Okay, first up we have Knockout. Now, what this perk does is that when you down a survivor and they're crawling into the dying state on the floor, any survivor that is outside of a 16-meter radius of that survivor on the floor will not actually be able to see the aura of that survivor, and this is mainly used as a slugging perk. Next up, we have an insane perk that everybody uses, and this is his best perk by far, Barbecue and Chili. Everybody loves this perk. With this perk, when you hook a survivor, you can see other survivors' auras for 4 seconds when they are at least 40 meters away from the hook. This perk is absolutely insane on so many other killers, so this is also why I recommend Leatherface. But wait, there's more. Each time you hook a survivor for the first time, you get 25% more blood points, and if you hook all survivors at least once, you can essentially double your blood points for that. So when you're new to Dead by Daylight, more blood points is great. Or just more blood points in general is just great. And his final perk is Franklin's Demise. Every time you hit a survivor, they drop the item. And it also loses a slight bit of a charge. And Leatherface's add-ons are also pretty good, which increase the movement speed when using his chainsaw, taking off the time penalty when you bump into objects, and cooldowns for the chainsaw. My third killer I recommend is the Nurse. Now, I'm not going to lie, the Nurse is very difficult to play, especially if you are a beginner. But the reason why she's in this video is she is by far the best killer in the game, and she comes with some really good perks too. So if you're feeling ballsy and you don't mind a bit more of a hardcore experience, starting to learn Nurse at a very early level could benefit you greatly in the long run. And a good thing with the Nurse is she's a free-to-play character, so you don't have to purchase any DLC to use her. When using the nurse can essentially blink, which is like a teleport. And when using this, she can get through pallets, walls, whatever. It is a very insane power, but it does require a lot of skill to use efficiently. If you get good at nurse, you can essentially stop survivors from looping you, and your power is just basically god tier. Now, when you're playing the nurse, she is very slow, so you don't want to be getting into chases without using your power. Just running around won't really do much. Location revealing perks such as Infectious, Fright, Barbecue and Chili, any gen perks are a great addition to her. She comes with 3 perks. First up, which is Strider, which increases the volume of a survivor when they're breathing, which is great on Spirit, and also when survivors are injured, up to 50%. This is a really good perk on the nurse herself. Next up is THANATOPHOBIA. I know, tongue twister, right? Which when you're using this perk, for each survivor that is injured, dying, or hooked, the rest of the team get penalties up to 4% to their healing, repairing, sabotaging. And that can go up to a maximum of 16%. And last but most certainly not least, by far her best perk, Nurse's Cooling, which is also used on a lot of other killers. Any survivor that is getting healed in your area of 28 meters, you can see the aura of that person getting healed. So it can be efficient and be a 2-in-1 perk because you can see a survivor that's healing someone or somebody that's healing themselves. And the Nurse's add-ons are also quite good, and they're all to do with her blinks, extra blinks, cooldowns, or range extensions. Next up, we have one of my favorite killers for her playstyle, and it's the Spirit. I find her ability really, really fun to use, and she's actually pretty good as well. Now, the Spirit is a DLC character, so you will need to purchase her. If you kind of like the style of the nurse, but you're struggling to play her, then perhaps try and give Spirit a go, because she sort of has the same similar ability with the whole movement style power. So the Spirit's powers is she's got her haunting ability. She leaves a static version of herself when she goes into this kind of haunting mode. And when she's in this mode, she can't see any survivors, but she is incredibly fast. But when she's in this mode, she has no terror radius or heartbeat until she is revealed and gets out of this mode. Really fun for scaring the crap out of survivors, and she's got great map coverage. However, I would like to point out that when she's using her phase walk ability, she cannot go through walls or pallets or anything like that. Any objects, she cannot go through them. On top of this, when she leaves her little static version behind, that instead has the terror radius and heartbeat until she comes out of this phase walk. She also has another passive ability, which is actually really good as well, which is her phasing. Now, the best way to describe this is that she kind of like glitches. For like split seconds, she goes like invisible and then like kind of transports and makes her movement really difficult for a survivor to try and counter. This alone is a great passive power and can really confuse survivors. You can also legit just stand at a pallet and a survivor will quite likely come back to you because they think that you're haunting and going around to get them. Perks that would really help out the Spirit's playstyle are location perks such as Barbecue and Chili, Strider because it reveals injured survivors as well and breathing, gen perks again such as Ruin or Podcast Weasel, and also something that's really good is Devour Hope because people always think it's haunted ground so they don't cleanse it. The Spirit comes with 3 perks, one of which is Spirit Fury. When Spirit Fury is fully leveled, if you get stunned by 2 pallets, the next pallet will instantly break and you won't get a stun. This, however, does reset, so you will need to be stunned again. Her next perk is a Hex, and it's called Haunted Grounds. So basically, when a survivor cleanses this Hex totem, all survivors suffer from the exposed status effect, meaning you can insta-down them for 60 seconds. But after that, it goes away. It's a pretty decent perk if you mix it in with other perks as well, or you become quite defensive. And then a final perk is Rancor. Each time a generator is completed, you see all the survivors' auras for a few seconds. However, the Obsession does get to see your aura while this is happening as well. But once all the generators are completed, your Obsession is now an insta-down because they have the exposed status effect, and you can actually Mori them, which is pretty cool. In my opinion, this is just a better Bitter Murmur. To play Spirit in a best form, you want to be predicting where survivors are going to be running to when you're in your haunting main ability. And you can also abuse this as well by standing still. And at pallets, some survivors will come back over the pallet or a window because they think that you're going to be haunting around it. In my opinion, the Spirit comes with some of the most fun add-ons in the game, such as every time she haunts, the entire map hears her haunting, incredibly faster movement speed when you're in your phase walk, and also ones that incredibly increase your phasing. And then finally, we get on to the killer that I mainly play when I play killer, which is the Hillbilly. I would seriously put the Hillbilly in the top 3 best killers in the game, and considering how good he is, no other killer at that level is as easy as to play as the Hillbilly. So if you're looking to absolutely dominate, but not spend ages trying to learn a specific killer, the Hillbilly would be a great choice for you. It doesn't take much time to learn how good he is, and he can insta-down survivors. He's an exceptional good killer and also has incredibly good map coverage. Now, the Hillbilly is also a free character as well, so you don't even have to purchase a DLC, and his perks are pretty decent as well. Again, any location revealing perks such as barbecue, infectious fright, a perk that will slow down the gen progression such as Pop Goes the Weasel is probably the best one here, and then something like Monitoring Abuse would be a very, very good build for him. A bit like Leatherface, Hillbilly does also have a chainsaw. Apart from his playstyle is completely different. When Hillbilly uses his chainsaw, he does a huge chainsaw sprint, sprinting at a very fast speed, and can turn quite well while doing so, which gives them absolutely great map coverage, and again can also insta-down survivors. But as long as you're good with aiming and predicting where survivors are going to go, you've got a great killer to use from the get-go. Hillbilly comes with 3 perks. The first one, which is Enduring, which you can reduce pallet stuns by up to 50%. He also has Lightborn, making it harder for survivors to flashlight you, and then we have Tinkerer as well. And when a gen is almost completed at 85%, you get a big noise notification, and you're undetectable for 12 seconds. This means you've got no red stain and no terror radius. However, when you do use the chainsaw, those survivors can hear you. Okay, from my personal experience, a few tips for playing Hillbilly. When you're in a chase with a survivor, you want to be relatively quite close to them. When you're revving your chainsaw, sometimes it's better to rev the chainsaw to 90-95%, as some survivors will try and juke you by turning, and this can mess you up. So by allowing that few seconds where you keep revving, survivors will turn and then you can just get them. Also, when you're running through a pallet, good survivors will know not to instantly drop a pallet if you start to rev the chainsaw. You can really confuse them by just tapping the chainsaw and then they won't drop the pallet and you can actually get quite a bit closer to them. Now, Hillbilly has some really cool add-ons that really dramatically increases the turning speed, how quick he runs with his chainsaw, and cooldowns. However, if you really want to get good with Hillbilly, I actually recommend you don't use those add-ons. The reason is because it will mess up your muscle memory and you think you'll be able to hit survivors with your chainsaw, but you actually can't because you don't have that turning speed. Instead, use add-ons such as making the chainsaw quieter, or the add-on which slows survivors down for doing gens when you chainsaw them. That way you won't mess up your muscle memory. And that was my top 5 killers that you should level first in Dead by Daylight. Be sure to comment below the killers that you first started playing with and that you think deserve a place in this list. And of course, subscribe for more Dead by Daylight content. Be sure to catch me live streaming Dead by Daylight on Twitch as well, every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 PM UK time. And thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.